My name is Mariah Johnson. Some of you might know me, but some of you might not know that I am a digital hostage. That my name was put on a list, apparently, and that I have been harassed digitally and followed and stalked and pranked for 5 years running. And it started when I subscribed to Twitch, the streaming service, and they started saying things on the streaming service, like calling things out in my house, calling out what was on my shirt, saying what my bank account balance was on a stream. Now, I don't know how they had this information, but somehow they did. Now, I have looked up, and I've seen that sometimes when you have one of those televisions that have internet and apps, that people can get into the television, and they can get into your phone, they can get into your laptop, and if you have a camera device in there, they can turn it on you. So I don't know if that's what happened, or I don't know if my ex-boyfriend helped them get this information. And I don't know how one of the DJs ended up as an authorized user on my cable account, but they did. Xfinity actually verified the name of the person who was an authorized user, authorized to do anything on the account. And they said this person's name was a DJ on Twitch, the streaming service. So I haven't heard anything directly from them. It's just been a lot of kind of passive, shadowy things. But I have had a lot of things happen. I have woken up to certain things in my place. I've had weird noises sometimes that I heard that I didn't have explanations for. And my camera once did catch somebody briefly standing over my bed when I was in the other room. And then that image disappeared. I seem to have trouble with things digitally all around, certain challenges. I had my phone taken at a bar, $900 taken out of my savings account. And they were able to give me the money back. It's a credit union. They're a really good credit union. I had my wallet stolen on a bus, and they tried to use the cards immediately. I've had all kinds of weird reflections back. People thinking that I do meth. Never done meth. People thinking that I do heroin. I've never done heroin. People getting this misinformation from somewhere. The name of an old friend, William Morgan, comes into play a lot. The name of an ex, Ken Steiner, comes into play a lot. I have over 100 pictures of weird occurrences, of things that have happened on my devices and things that have happened to me, including cuts and scratches and bruises that I've woken up to. I'm not a heavy drinker. I don't go to bed drunk and then wake up with I go to bed totally sober and wake up and sometimes I have a sprained toe, a cut or a bruise. One's a really kind of a shocking one. A burn that was on the lower part of my back. I don't know what this is. But the people who follow me and try to get messages to me digitally seem to infer that it's a underground show, or that it's the moon, or that it's part of this Twitch streaming service. So I canceled it because too many things have been happening, and it's getting scary. It's scary when you leave and you get the feeling that people are coming into your home when you're not there because they call it a set. It's a really good excuse to break into somebody's home and try to get away with it by saying that you're on an underground reality show and that you're some kind of producer and that it's okay to do that. Or people breaking into my house when I am sleeping. It's really scary. I don't know what else to do because it just keeps happening, except to start making videos. I moved from Portland, Oregon, to Houston, Texas, to try to get away from it because they kept dropping idle and subtle threats to move out of the city. Move out of the city. And then all of these weird things that are happening, people following me, weird cars showing up outside of the window. The same car would show up outside of my window almost every day. And just no one would get out of the car. It would just sit there with the engine running and the lights on. I have a picture of it in my phone. I have a picture of the multiple days it was outside of my window. I'll have people say things to me that there's no way they could know unless they had a camera in my apartment. I moved almost 3,000 miles away from Portland because I thought when they were trying to bully me out of my city that I lived in for 30 years, I thought if I did that, they would stop harassing me digitally, mentally. People wouldn't be coming into my place anymore if I wasn't there. Things wouldn't turn up missing or broken. And I moved here to Texas, right around the corner from my sister, and it only has seemed to have gotten worse. It's unfortunate because I was laid off, and then I got another job, and the job that I got, it seemed like there were people connected to this Twitch project thing that were involved in some scheme to, possibly get me fired. You could really feel that. You could feel that ramping up during the training. So I quit before they could fire me. Before the people who were trying to get me fired got me fired. I just beat them to the punch. I just left before Thanksgiving and I didn't come back. And I quit before they could execute their plan. It might seem crazy, but there's a lot of telltale signs that led up to that. I would never do that unless I felt like my job was threatened. And when I realized that there could be something that they could do to ultimately cause me my job, there were weird things that were happening there. It was a call center job. Some of the calls that I got were really eerie because some of the people called didn't sound like real customers. And then a couple of them actually said what was actually on my screens, that there was no way they could have known. And they actually said what was on my screens before I even said anything, which was eerie. Some people mentioned they could hear the people in the background and said, are they talking about? And they actually said what the person was what they were talking about. That were 2 rows away from me. There was no way they could have heard them. And yet they did that. So my concern was that they were going to have some fake calls come in and try to report me or say I said something to get me fired, because they were insinuating that. They always telegraphed what they were going to do. And so I had to lose my job there. Every job that I've tried to apply for, I've just about immediately gotten rejection emails. I applied for about 6 grocery clerk positions where I said I'll do anything. They said the same positions were being posted every week, but none of my applications were responded to. The one job that I was able to get was a manager who eerily mentioned knowing friends of William Morgan. Literally mentioned their names and said, "Oh yeah, I know them too." That was the only job offer I got, basically, and they wanted to give me 8 to 20 hours a week. 8 to 12 hours a week, which would not be enough to cover my rent. But also it was a bit of a red flag and concerning that out of the blue, they started mentioning, not only that they mentioned people that were friends with William Morgan, but people that I met before him while he was in Africa, but people who were connected to the same people who were friends of his. So I can only assume that once he returned from Africa to Oregon, that he became friends with them too. And it's a little bit too much of a coincidence, which Malcolm Nance has mentioned before. It takes a lot of planning. That this person at this particular job mentioned all of William's friends. And it was the only place that I was offered a job. I've never filed a stalking report before. Well, this seems to go beyond stalking. It's really creepy. It's really eerie. It has a lot to do with him. His name keeps coming up, and he's pretty blatant about it. So somehow maybe I became his digital slave. I don't know. But over 2,000 miles away from Portland, supposedly, I'm still trapped in his system. And he might be out there making up lies about me to my family and to my friends. Making up lies about having a drug habit that I never had. Actually hiring people to get on a max in the middle of the day and I guess smoke meth or crack behind me, maybe to record it on his phone and then frame me as a person that was doing it with this person. I thought it was really weird. Who would get on a MAX train, which is a train that rides above ground like a subway, but above ground with big windows in it in the middle of the day, and sit directly behind me and start smoking meth or crack? I couldn't tell what it was. All I know is that it smelled like burning oil. And I looked and I turned around and I looked them in the eye, and they did not take they didn't look away from me at all, and held up some little aluminum foil something and started lighting it right in front of my face as if it meant nothing. I can't even think of anyone who would light up a cigarette on a max, let alone light that up in the middle of the day and just look someone dead in the eye. Unless somebody was trying to set me up. So I don't know what this is, but it's scary. I don't know how to get out of it. Maybe you have some advice for somebody who once had a friend and now that friend or something, maybe he saw my connection to Twitch, has kind of stalked me everywhere, had people follow me with cameras. I even was sitting on a bus once and some guy threw a rock at a window where I normally would be sitting, but I just decided that one time not to sit there. Breaking the bus window, and we all had to get off the window. All of these weird things. There's so many more strange things. I don't know what to do. It's scary. And now there are manifestations of things happening here where I thought I would be safe. And technically I'm safe, but they're still messing with me. I rented the first car today in years that doesn't have an alarm system or power locks, just a regular key, which could mean it could be easily broken into. This apartment has a lot of flaws that I could be potentially charged for when I move out. There's just a lot of weird things, and it always seems to come back to his name, or Ken Steiner's name, who is actually my ex-boyfriend. I don't know how to get help, because I feel like if I ask anybody, they're going to be connected to him or them. So the only thing I can think of is to start making these videos. Maybe I'll send it to a congressperson and see if they can help me, or at least give me some instructions of what I can do. They also say I've been added to some kind of a MAGA list to be harassed by like QAnon and Anonymous, MAGA supporters. It's kind of a big mess. I don't know how I got in the middle of it. Maybe it happened when Twitch decided to turn its camera on me and start recording me in my living room without my knowledge, and then put my image out there. Could be. I don't know. But I do hope I can get answers soon. I feel like a reasonable person. It would be nice if somebody like just told me the truth. I've only been asking for like 5 years for that. Maybe if I post this, maybe they will come forward with the truth. Somebody. That would be nice. Then we can meet. And then maybe I can find out it's just a fun game, jokey thing. We didn't mean to scare you. That's the kind of information I'd like to hear. Because right now, I just really want it to stop.